Hello, hello, hello. This is Ash Teeter here with Lost Coast Populace, hosting the Reading Between the Headlines news review. And right now, we are on the LCP website looking at the article about an event that happened last week, the Freedom of Conscience conference that happened down at St. Mark's in Ferndale, here in Humboldt County. And the kind of topic we're going over on this week's episode of Reading Between the Headlines is it's about the culture war and about gun culture. And this article relates to it because we received a kind of a prize commendation for our activity in the community, and it was a simile, I guess, a prop gun made out of wood, you could say. But anyways, we'll go down and read a little bit in the article, and then we'll watch a little short part of the video about that shows us getting this wooden gun, and then we'll move on to the rest of the news as we have it here. But anyways, go down, and this is the Freedom of Religious and Conscience conference, and there it is. There's the old cotton bale. And the name Old Cotton Bale might sound curious. It carries a profound history. Seth Kinman, a famed frontiersman of the Humboldt settlement area, referred to his cherished rifle as Old Cotton Bale. This rifle wasn't just a tool, it was a symbol of his dedication to providing and protecting his neighbors in both times of war and peace. In many ways, it serves as an emblem for our First and Second Amendment rights, which we employ to serve our neighbors, engaging in the culture war and promoting peace, as it would be. But we will go into full screen mode and check out a little bit of this here. So,
watch out, we saw a gun!
Yes, we don't want to complain about culture and the losing of culture.
Look at that.
We actually want to create culture. And so this is what the Old Cotton Bale Freedom of Conscience Award is going to be about. And if you are local, you might know what the Old Cotton Bale is. If you don't, let me teach you. Seth Kinman, our local frontiersman, speaking of truth and lies, maybe a decade ago, he would have been the subject of a Disney TV show.
Yeah.
You would call him Davy Crockett, and there he is, right? Buckskins and making the weird antler things and settling the West and all that. He was a prized hero. Today, he's considered evil, colonizer, vicious. And so he actually is part, right there with Christopher Columbus, of why we're holding today's conference in this space and not in a different conference space. And you have already recognized, if you're familiar with St. Mark's and with me at all, you recognize that I don't like to just go away. And he doesn't either. So when people talk about Seth Kinman as being a murderous, Indian slaughtering colonizer, I tend to want to read what Seth Kinman said. And when you read all of Seth Kinman's stories, he is constantly defending the Native Americans against the white man who would slaughter up there at Indian Island, that massacre of the 150 or 200 people. He, 3 different times in 3 different stories, says, that's awful, it's not helping the cause, those people should be punished, let's tar and feather them, this sort of thing. And then over and over again, there was a situation where you had the war going on between the settlers and the Indians, and he and a guide went out, and they were looking for some Indians who had shot some settlers, and the guide sees an Indian squaw and her baby come out of a teepee type of thing, and the guide draws down on her and is about to shoot her, and Kinman grabs his rifle and says, no, we don't shoot women and children, that's not warfare. Right? So he was very much a warrior, and he worked out at Fort Humboldt and these sorts of things. So I have no problem presenting an award in the shape of a rifle, and specifically it's a condensed version. Rex Sanders made this for us, a member of the congregation, and we were looking at presenting this award in this way, and he said, Pastor, you know, the old Cotton Bell would have been like 6 feet long. So this is a long piece, but it's not quite to scale. The old Cotton Bell is what he called his rifle. It was his prized possession. And as you read the little blurb in the program today, it's a fitting example or a fitting representation of using what we have in service to neighbor. Guns aren't vicious things. They don't have to be vicious things. The Second Amendment serves the First Amendment. But also, for Seth Kinman, this was how he served his neighbor. He was a hunter. He was a warrior. He was these sorts of things. And he helped feed people with his weapon. He helped, it's a tool, right? He helped protect people. He helped serve his neighbor. We use our First Amendment right in the same way. And so we want to award someone locally or organization locally, depending on the year, with the Old Cotton Bell Freedom of Conscience Award every chance we can, every year. And this year, it's almost without saying, Lost Coast Populace is the receivers of this award. So those who are from Lost Coast Populace, you guys would come up for this.
Yeah. I apologize for any audio fluctuations there. It's a little tough to predict sometimes, but I'd encourage you to come back to the LCP website if you want to watch the rest of that, or you can go to our YouTube channel. But anyways, I think what Pastor Bramwell said there kind of sets the tone for what we're talking about here. And part of it has to do with recent Board of Supervisors, meeting where this John Chiv article here talks about Rex Bone getting, how's he put it? Licensed hunter since 10, Rex Bone says, I feel like a merchant of death. And this is about Rex adding a handgun. There's like a 9mm to a donation basket for like it's a RCRC, like some rural counties group that he heads up. But yeah, the entire board kind of, well, not all of them, but a good portion of them were really disturbed by this, just given the current virtue signal climate regarding guns and firearms and all that. So we're going to be talking about that throughout the episode here. Yeah, then we also had the Lost Coast Outpost covering this, and I'd have to say they actually did a good job covering this one. All they did, from what I could tell, was just tell the story pretty much like I watched it on the meeting itself. So they didn't really stray too far. They didn't toss around any inappropriate slander about Rex or anything. It was just pretty much, and maybe it was just because he was already kind of on the defense with the tweet that started this whole thing before Wilson even called it out. This is the Becky Renna. It says, really, rural counties? A Humboldt County auction basket that includes a gun? As California at Mom's Demand volunteer, I'm really disappointed to see this. Guns are the number one cause of death for children in America. So yeah, that's kind of what triggered this whole thing. And it resulted in Wilson suggested a reversal of his position, which is like he originally wanted Bushnell and Rex to like switch positions and he become the alternate and she take over the RCRC thing. But then they kind of switched it around. He said, I'd be willing to do that. He said, otherwise, I really need to sit on this because I don't have all the information. I want to say I do really appreciate Supervisor Bone's efforts in wanting to promote the charities he can, I feel. But yeah, he kind of switched it up. Like towards the end here, they talk about it. And it says, Wilson rescinded his motion and seconded the motion Bushnell had made at the beginning of the meeting, which was that she would just handle the gift basket at these kind of events that they would have. But anyways, we got a little clip that was on. Let's see here. Yeah, this is on the KEET here, and they've got this is the same coverage here, but it's interesting. You'll see this. We're going to play a little clip at the end where their host wraps it up, and they get it wrong. I guess they didn't watch the whole city count or the whole board of supervisors meeting. So, and they just called off Bushnell and Rex completely switched positions when all that ended up happening was that Bushnell was going to handle the gift baskets at these kind of events. But anyways, here we go. We got that, and there's a little bit of little clip with Mario Fernandez that talks about it too that I thought was interesting. So we'll go to full screen mode, and we will play that as well here.
And it was gotten at a local firearms store, paid for by me, not the county.
The board ultimately voted to swap out representation to RCRC, reappointing Bone as alternate representative and Supervisor Michelle Bushnell will take the place as primary. One of Humboldt County's beloved population of California condors recently suffered from lead poisoning, requiring treatment at Sequoia Park Zoo. According to the Yurok tribe, which administers the condor program, along with Redwood National and State Parks, a condor named Minuquek, along with several others, recently fed on a poached elk carcass. In a routine autumn health check, 5 out of 8 condors were found to have concerning levels of lead in their blood, which they believe came from shot in the elk. Minuquek was the only bird whose lead level required treatment for lead poisoning. The bird was treated on site at the... In studio is Councilman Jean Mario Fernandez. He goes by Mario, so I will use Mario. I'm James. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you again.
We've spoken once before,
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for coming down. Real quick, we talked just now about, the county gun issue, and I know that it's not anything that you guys are facing anytime soon or have faced in the past recently, but do you have any thoughts that you want to share about gun violence? My daughter goes to Eureka High, and recently we had a scare where there was a lockdown, and I know Mayor Miguel was actually on site
In one of the classrooms, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a whole scary experience. Anything that you want to share from a local perspective about this issue?
I can't speak to that experience personally because I've never had to go through it myself. Actually, in community college once, we had a lockdown at Napa Valley Community College because there was a robbery just down the road, and so we were locked in the classroom for probably about 3 hours. Yeah. But to go through it as a parent, I can't relate to that, and so I can only imagine how that wears on you. Speaking from experience with my partner being a teacher at Winship, hearing about the experience that she had, I think it was maybe earlier this year, and it's unfortunate that these type of events are starting to blend together.
Yeah, exactly
But when parents get excited to the point that they're banging and knocking on the doors themselves, I would absolutely ask that they not do that. There's a certain protocol that the schools, that the teachers have to follow to make sure that the students, that your children stay safe in those situations. Yeah. And so I understand the emotional workup that people get from it, but we have those protocols in place to try and keep them safe to the best of our abilities at that time.
Basically you could put your child at risk by going and trying to get him out early.
Let alone yourself, or everybody else's children. So as much as you want to be there to help, this is not an Uvalde type of situation. And I hope that we don't have that type of situation here, particularly in Eureka. Speaking to the experience of the county, I can only imagine that Rex, that Supervisor Bone was coming from a place of thinking, impact versus intent. Like his intent was to be like, well, we do use firearms in our county. We go hunting in our county, and it absolutely makes sense when you're living in any of these rural counties that are represented. The impact, though, you really do have to take into consideration, and I can understand how he feels that it's political because the Second Amendment is enshrined in the first 10 amendments. It's absolutely number 2. And so that's not something you can say that, well, this isn't political. It is, and that's unfortunate that it's become as divisive as it has. Yeah. But again, the impact is there should have been maybe more thought that if this is going to be utilized in terms of hunting, I don't know a lot of folks that use hunting or that use handguns for hunting, unless it's particularly smaller game.
Yeah, so you mentioned something interesting there. I know many people use handguns for hunting. Well, they might use it as a tool when they are hunting because it's called a sidearm. So you have your primary weapon, you got a secondary weapon for trying to wield a rifle in close quarters if something's coming right at you. It could probably be kind of cumbersome, I'd imagine. I mean, I'm not a huge gun buff, but I'm pretty sure that's what the purpose is. got your sidearm. It's something that you can pull out and use quickly. And it's not just deer out in the woods. There's all kinds of other critters out there. Bear, mountain lion, all Wolverine, I think, even in our area. But anyways, we'll move on from that here. It's a firearm, right?
It's not a party favor, and it's not a door prize, right? It's a firearm.
Yeah, it's a firearm, exactly. But then we got this other story on John Shiv. Talk about 24-year-old Jaharia Zion arrested for assault. Several firearm charges in possession of Xanax. But a search warrant was served on Zion's vehicle, and deputies located 3 loaded semi-automatic rifles with high-capacity magazines and a 12-gauge shotgun, several additional high-capacity magazines, approximately 45 grams of suspected cocaine, and numerous prepackaged alprazolam pills. Yeah, slaughtered that one. Anyways, also found in Zion's possession. Zion was booked for assault with a semi-automatic firearm, shooting of an inhabited dwelling, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a high-capacity magazine, altering a firearm serial number, and illegally possessing an assault weapon. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that he's got illegal weapons, not like the one that Rex was transferring, which was all above board. Not people filing off the serial numbers and doing a handoff here. This is something that's a legally registered weapon with background checks and all that. But anyways, a little Facebook clip on something kind of related here we're going to play. Let's see how loud this sucker is.
And the city does not want to be, they would hate him. But if the prince pays criminals, kill cows, burn barns, smash windows, set things on fire, the people will panic in fear and cry out for help, and the prince will come in, get rid of the very criminals he bribed to create the problem. Nobody will know the better for it, and everyone will praise the prince as a hero. So it's good marketing. You create the need and fill it. You go around the back of the house and set it on fire, then you go around the front of the house and sell them a fire extinguisher. And they'll pay anything for it and even thank you for being there. So it's called Machiavellianism, where you create or capitalize on a crisis to consolidate control. So if a prince wants to conquer a city...
Yeah, creating the problem and then selling the solution. And the solution that's being pushed right now is, got all these mass shootings, so we need to get rid of the guns. But how much does that really help here? We got this little Twitter post where they talk about that. Zoom in on that a bit. Yeah, anti-gun activists wishes they had a gun when they're confronted with a gun. Would rather have had a gun, not need it. And then to need a gun and not have it. And so here's how Israel protects their school children. You see the teacher is armed with a gun. And then how America protects the school children. Gun-free school zone. And it says the duration of a mass shooting always depends on the arrival of a second gun or other guns on the scene. And that is kind of like, we're depending on, law enforcement are trusted people with guns, These are the people who are approved to have guns, but what if they're late? Isn't it good to have a backup plan, a plan B, Yeah, it's always good to be prepared, and yeah. Anyways, here, we're going to move on to another little blip about Newsom in China.
How dare you?
How dare you, Newsom? I think he had some kind of scandal with the masks earlier, a couple years ago, where some kind of scam buying masks from China during the pandemic or something like that. But anyways, not related to this, but this says the governor was on a week-long tour of China when he will push for climate cooperation. Newsom's trip as a governor, once considered routine, is drawing attention as it comes after years of heightened tensions between the U.S. and China. So yeah, I don't know if they've got any video here on it. This is, yeah, it's something else. But anyways, we got a little clip about that here that we'll play. Let's see if we can. Yeah, why is the governor of California meeting with the Chinese president? I don't know. Is he prepping for a presidential run? Because the puppet masters are planning an installation. This is American Psycho's next president. Yeah, exactly. That would seem to be the only reason why he would be over there.
We released this. 4. It's our most accomplished album. I think they're undisputed masterpieces. Hip to be square. The song's so catchy. Most people
Something like that, huh?
but they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of the
Well, anyways, here. Then Ron DeSantis also weighs in on the whole Newsom visiting China thing. And you'll see why all this is related. We're getting to that, but we got to go through a couple more stories where this ties back into the gun thing. But anyways, so Ron DeSantis says Gavin Newsom and Chinese President Xi Jinping are two peas in a pod, as Florida governor says he's ready to debate California counterpart. And a little down here it says, when I saw the photos, the thing that came to my mind was, these guys are two peas in a pod with respect to COVID, draconian COVID policies. DeSantis told Daily Mail when he was discussing his thoughts when he found out Newsom went to China to meet with Xi. They both had very lengthy lockdowns, curtailing people's ability to go to work or school and all that. The Florida governor added when speaking in Las Vegas, Nevada, I know California because a lot of people fled to Florida because of what he did. Many 2024 candidates, including DeSantis, see China as the largest emerging threat against America when it comes to both national security and competition. But yeah, fancy that. A critical governor. Can't have that now, can we? But, I guess when it comes to the mass shootings, people are dying, right?
People are dying.
Yeah, we can't have that. But here we got another little clip here. And let's see what this one is. And yeah, I think this one is talking about the just comparing like what they're trying to do to the US with all the smart cities and stuff through the globalization pushes and how it already is in China. So if we have Newsom going over there getting buddy with the president of China, you think it's a far, like a stretch of the imagination that he might be trying to socially engineer California to be something similar to what we see in China. But anyways, we'll listen to this here.
So in China, for example, this is going to happen here, I think, too. Although maybe people will fight. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, digital ID system has you. It has your blood now. It has your genetic code. It has your photograph. It can identify how you walk. So even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine, you can't play video games, you can't go on a train, you can't get out of your 15-minute city. Well, that's already in place in China. So in China, for example...
Yeah, no way that Newsom would be wanting to do that here. I mean, yeah.
How dare you?
How dare you, Newsom? That's just off the hook there, buddy. But what else do we got? We got, communist grease palms. China's TikTok spends big bucks lobbying Washington. And down here it says, the company owned by a hostile foreign country reportedly spent more than $3.7 million on federal lobbying in the last 3 months alone, surpassing what it spent on the entire year of 2019 and 2020 combined. The ByteDance lobbyists have reportedly begun focusing on internet technology and machine learning-enabled content platforms. They use artificial intelligence to customize feeds based on their user preferences. The Chinese company lobbyists are also recently started advocating around issues regarding privacy, data security, data localization, protecting children, intermediary liability, and platform/content moderation, including federal privacy and protection legislation. So basically, if they continue to lobby, as we've seen here, what happens in America, it might become a little more like Europe, where I think they had recently told Twitter that, you've got to censor or we're just going to fine you or shut you down or something like that. Something that it's not quite that bad here. We think censorship's bad here, just like we think a lot of things are bad here in the U.S., but our Constitution protects us from a lot of these things. But anyways, then also, I guess, Jon Stewart, the old Daily Show host, he was definitely funnier than Colbert was, and the newer Noah guy or whatever. But yeah, it says, Jon Stewart's Apple show abruptly ends due to disagreements over China. AI reports, I guess, over China AI. Anyways, we got, Jon Stewart's show on Apple TV streaming service is no more, and China was reportedly an issue. Stewart and Apple have parted ways after executives at the tech giant expressed misgivings about future episodes of the show that could potentially delve into sensitive topics such as China and artificial intelligence, according to the New York Times. The move brings about a surprise end to the problem with Jon Stewart, that's the name of the show, which ran for 2 years on Apple TV. Initially, the show had a ratings flop, managing a meager audience in its first season. But the second season brought several viral moments. The show eventually earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Talk Series. Stewart was insistent on keeping creative control of the show while refusing to be hamstrung by Apple. But as we all know, Apple pretty much has the majority of their hardware built in sometimes what people could be called almost forced labor scenarios in China. So I guess they're a little bit defensive when it comes to, people having critical words on said country there. But anyways, we've got another little clippy poo about something here, and this is about communism. So we're gonna start that, pause, unmute, play.
I'm just asking, what is this?
This is a banner and this is a table.
Yeah, but why is that?
That says, are you a communist?
Yeah.
Then get organized. That's what it says. And also under there it says socialist.
So you're socialist?
Communist and socialist, yeah.
You're communist and socialist?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Where are you from?
I'm from China.
China. You?
Portugal.
Portugal? Yeah. So if you're from China, why you live here? That's a good question, huh?
Because China sucks, for me at least.
China sucks?
Yes.
So why are you promoting that?
Because China isn't communist. I don't know.
China is not communist?
No.
I think China is.
Well, that's what they say.
No, it's not what they say. It's the reality. China is
I think the reality.
You have permission to record. No, you have permission to promote communists.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Okay,
this
fine.
is a public space.
This is a public space. I can film. Okay, cool.
I mean, you can't film people without their consent.
I can. I'm on the public space. I can film anyone.
It's fine. Should we go to the public space?
Yeah. How come you promote?
Objectively,
I'm just having a debate. I don't know. Communist people. This is what communist people do. They run away. They run away when someone has a debate with them. I'm just talking to you. I'm not doing anything bad.
No, I know, but we have.
I can't have a debate. I'm from a communist country. I know what communist is. None of you live in a communist regime. She lived in a communist regime and she fled. She left. Why you don't live there?
Why don't
You promoting this rubbish? You promoting this rubbish for what? You know how many people died through communism?
I mean, do you know how many people
Where is
die
your
in
mind?
capitalism?
Where is
Do you
your
know how
mind?
many people are in poverty?
What capitalism? Oh wow, yeah. But you live here on capitalism. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, please.
As I said, China isn't communist.
No, I do. But
Heard it from her. Yes, her. China isn't communist. Yep. China isn't communist. That's a revelation there, huh? I don't know. What is China then if it's not communist? That's a good question for someone who'd be willing to answer. I guess not that person though. Not interested in an answer there. But anyways, moving on here, we've got. So yes, down to the crux of the question. So after the guns were removed, the killing fields, and this is talking about, communism in China. It says, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. The Communist Party must command all the guns. That way, no guns can ever be used to command the party. The quote was from Mao Zedong, former founder of Communist China. Mao's first act after gaining complete control of China in 1949 was to take away all the guns from the population. Sound familiar? It's a policy he began in 1935 as he took over each rural province. Anyone found with a gun post-confiscation was executed. An estimated 65 million Chinese died as a result of Mao's repeated merciless attempts to create a new socialist China. Anyone who got in his way was done away with by execution, imprisonment, or forced famine. Mao killed more people than either Stalin or Hitler during World War II, and it all began after he took away the guns. So yeah, that brings us back into what we're going through in our country, in our state, and even in our county as we speak. So we will get back to this similar line of thought, but on the national, international level here. So this is getting into the Israel stuff. It's a Intifada. From London to Gaza, pro-Palestine protesters call for violent revolution against Israel at massive demo in British capital. It says, on Saturday, protesters flying a flag saying, "Fight for revolution," were filmed chanting, "From London to Gaza, we will have Intifada." The term Intifada, which literally translates to stone uprising, refers to years of violent Palestinian riots against Israel starting in 1987, on the 20th anniversary of Israel's war against Egypt and Jordan. A so-called Second Intifada was launched in 2000 and lasted for around 5 years, during which time over 1,000 Israelis and over 3,000 Palestinians were killed. So yeah, that is, hey, why would you need a gun when there's, violent movements like this going on around the world? But luckily that's way over here. It's not happening here, right? Of course, yeah. We'll get back to that. But, so this is San Francisco. This is a little bit closer here. It says thousands protest and SF Freeway calling for ceasefire in Gaza. Demonstrators wave Palestine's flag and chant phrases in support of the nation. This protest comes upon the news of Israel's expanding its ground operation in Gaza as the war enters its next stage. Communication networks have mostly gone dead in Gaza, with military bombardment knocking out pathways connecting Gaza with the rest of the world. The dead toll in Gaza has increased to over 7,700 people as of Saturday, most of those killed being women and minors. I got a little video of it here, see if it'll play. Maybe. Okay, so there's that. Move on to the next little one here. And this is why it makes it relevant to us. It's like the number of people on terrorist watch list stopped at the U.S. southern border has risen. And it says down here, thought I had that highlighted, but yeah, here. As of July, 160 migrants whose identities match those who are on terrorist screening data sheets have been apprehended by Customs and Border Protection trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border during the fiscal year of 2023, compared to 100 in the fiscal year of 2022. Fiscal years end on September 30th. The number of all people, including U.S. citizens on the terrorist watch list who have been stopped at the southern border as of July was 216 compared to 165 in 2022. The number of border crossers, the watch list, was higher in the fiscal year 2019 at 280. A DHS official told reporters that the increase from 2022 to 2023 is consistent with the overall increase in migrants crossing the border and the rising number of migrants coming from areas of conflict. And here's Mayorkas. We'll listen to him spout off about that. I guess we can take that to the full screen here.
The Justice Department is announcing significant enforcement actions against the largest, most violent, and most prolific fentanyl trafficking operation in the world. That operation is run by the Sinaloa cartel and fueled by Chinese precursor chemical and pharmaceutical companies. The Justice Department is attacking every aspect of the cartel's operations. We have charged suppliers in China who sell fentanyl precursors to the cartel. Holland-based broker purchases precursor chemicals on behalf of the cartel. Operators of the clandestine labs in Mexico, cartel manufactures fentanyl. Weapons supplier who arms the cartel with firearms smuggled into Mexico from the United States. Leaders of the cartel's security forces who terrorize communities. Money launderers who enable the cartel to fund its operations. And the cartel's leaders, as the Chapitos, sons of the now imprisoned former head of the cartel, as El Chapo. 8 of those defendants are now in the custody of our international partners. We'll be seeking their extradition to the United States, face charges in federal court, and we will be working closely with our partners in the government of Mexico to seek the extradition of other defendants. The United States government is using every tool at its disposal to combat the fentanyl epidemic. PRC government must stop the unchecked flow of fentanyl precursor chemicals that are coming out of China. This morning, the Treasury Department announced sanctions against 2 Chinese companies and 5 related individuals for their roles in the sale of fentanyl precursor chemicals from China to the Sinaloa cartel. 4 of those individuals are defendants in this case. Before we provide further details on these actions against the Sinaloa cartel, I want to explain why we do them.
But yeah, you'd think there might be a little bit more that could be done about this. I mean, people are dying here, buddy.
People are dying.
Yeah. But we're going to move on to the next little thing here. Got another little Facebook thing. Reload it, pause it. But yeah, this is talking about, some of these people on their, I don't know if they're on the watch list or not, but some people are reporting that they're like UN funded Hamas troops being shipped out to various parts of our country here.
Yeah, the UN sent me over here. I'm a soldier for the UN, and they gave me this card. It's got a computer chip in it, like a bank card, It's got the guy's picture on it, information, and number. And he was told to go to a certain city and get a place to stay and wait. They would get in touch with him through the phone. He's not just going to come live here. If he's a soldier for the UN, he's not going to come live here for 6 months and then pay him $2,200 a month. Okay? Whatever they're planning on doing it within I would say the next 90 days to 120 days.
Google my name, Ross Bensman, and UNET 9 Tech, and you'll see all of my reports on they are clandestine agents in American cities, armed to the teeth, target already ready for order from Tehran. If things really blow on the northern border in Israel, and we don't, watch out for the UNET 9 Tech.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not as bad as that guy's recording, but, never hurts to be prepared, does it? Anyways, we got, finally, this little CNN bit here. And it says, a nation rocked by mass shootings goes on an extended gun buying run. Imagine that, mass shootings leading to more gun purchases. But at the same time, we're playing it down like, guns are just so unpopular, and it's not even the hip thing anymore. I mean, it's shameful to be promoting guns, but the reality is that people are out there buying more and more guns because of all these concerns. So this article says, the heightened interest in guns comes after the horrific spate of mass shootings. And according to the CDC's most recent figures, firearm fatalities that outnumber motor vehicle traffic deaths, 48,830 to 45,404. But I think that's probably mainly in suicides, not just people, going out in public and letting loose. Over the last 2 weeks, 4 people were shot, 1 fatally in upstate New York, Kansas City, and Texas, also after accidentally going to the wrong address or opening the wrong door. The number of both state and national instant criminal background checks required before one can purchase a gun, and a rough indicator of how many people are either purchasing or possibly issued a gun permit, surging during the pandemic from 30 million to nearly 40 million, according to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. So yeah, that's a pretty fair increase there, one might say. But yeah, the fear of unknown and the chaos of the pandemic was the motivating factor, some say. And yeah, something that people are free to do in this country still, luckily. But we're going to go into discussion mode on this topic here, and then after that, we're going to play an abridged version of the Board of Supervisors where Rex Bone was shamed for putting a gun in the donation basket for the rural counties event where he was raising money for various things. But anyways, handguns, they're kind of an emotional topic, aren't they?
In particular, something this is a lot of emotional questions.
Yeah, a lot of emotional questions. But anyways, we'll go and we'll talk about this whole thing here. But yeah, so guns. It's kind of funny how some people who embrace the worldview projected by the corporate media cartel, how they view guns. It's almost a total disconnect from what's happening, with gun sales on the rise, as admitted in the article from CNN we just looked over. Popularity it's there, but it's put down by the media frenzy and virtual signaling that goes along with it. Some people can't see the purpose aside from hunting, even though the same people support sending millions and billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine to support Ukraine's democracy, even though they're not going to have an election, according to Zelensky, just because he's not sure if it's going to pan out his way. The same people would also support sending millions or billions of dollars to Israel so they could wage war against Hamas in Palestine, even though Israel's gun policies for its own citizens are very strict, similar to what you see in Australia. When you have to demonstrate a need, like on a professional basis, to own a gun. How many of Israel's lives could have been saved, in the recent Hamas attack, if they had a second amendment like ours or in their constitution that supported their right to own guns? If they were allowed to have guns, how many people would have not been raped, murdered, all the things we saw in that brutal attack that surprisingly got through of Israel's robust defense. I mean, that's another topic, but anyways, people act like it's a plan, like you're going to get your gun specifically to inflict harm on others. How many people really want to do that? Just get a gun just in case they need it? Or because someone else has a gun, maybe? Is that, or just in case? I mean, or are people who are looking to do harm, are they really going to go through the legal process, or are they going to try to get an illegal gun so they're not, tracked for it if they're planning on doing something like that? The virtue signaling shames people for being prepared. Taking for granted the imagined security that we have through our local law enforcement, people throw the shame around, like at the Board of Supervisors meeting, while armed guards are present in the room protecting him, or at least in the building. I'm pretty sure they're usually in the room too. I know at the Eureka City Council, they're definitely there all the time now. But why else could you use a gun? I mean, I know family members carry a sidearm when they go hiking in case of large wild animals. That's a reason. And this isn't even uncommon. Here in town, Eureka, we've had reports of mountain lions in the Cutton part of Eureka and in Fortuna. And mountain lions are a serious issue. I don't know if people realize how large and powerful some of these animals are. I mean, I remember a time when I was just a teenager camping outside in a tent, and a mountain lion decided to come grab a goat. But it's not just something that you could hear. It's something you could feel. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Jurassic Park, but it's kind of like that. You feel the impact on the ground. It literally shakes, rattles the earth. Creatures are so large that you feel its presence because you're like, holy crap, what is that out there? Luckily, the property owner, it was like my dad's girlfriend at the time, and my dad came out, and either one or both of them had guns, and they scared off the lion. But the lion ran away with a half a goat dangling out of its mouth. So yeah. And that's something that could totally happen to any rural residents around here. So it's not good to shame people for having something that's, quickly accessible that could save your life or your kid's life if there's a large predatory animal like that around. But, I mean, besides that, what else could you use a gun for in the cradle of safety here in America? Could it be because the southern border is wide open? That there's a record number of people crossing from many countries who are on the terrorist watch list? As our own inept president is shipping these same people around, and it's almost strategic, to where they're going to different parts of the country. I mean, is this some kind of weird plan? Are people just subliminally or just kind of catching the vibes where they should get prepared, and that's why the number of gun sales went up so much? That's what's happening? People are just, despite the propaganda, are people just picking that up? Like, I think I've just got this feeling where I should go get a gun. But anyways, I heard that it becomes abundantly clear that as soon as you've had a gun pointed in your face and you don't have one, that you're like, yeah, maybe I should go do that. And maybe people are just imagining that, or maybe it's happened to some people and that's why they went and did that, because they survived that situation. But anyways, we're going to move on, and there's an abridged version of the supervisors meeting that I put together, and you can listen to the virtue signaling firsthand. But this is just a shortcut out of this is 13 minutes out of about an hour of footage. So if you want more context, go back and check out the full video on the Access Humboldt YouTube. And yeah, anyways, we will skip over to that. And yeah.
units of California. Board would like to do with that appointment. Supervisor Bone is currently appointed, and I am the alternate.
I have some interest in something I need to discuss. Someone sent me a Twitter link for it, and it's on Twitter now, and so now people are talking about Humboldt County being purveyors of guns. You know, biggest killer of kids is guns. Suicide by gun is on the rise. This is relevant to who might want to have representing us at this organization. It said Humboldt County and then, you know, gun, just like I have feelings about that. If it's really the case that it's not a party favor, and it's not a door prize, right? It's a firearm. It's for the purposes of killing or shooting people. I mean, that's like generally why they're developed, right? And in the construct or the timing of, you know, an epidemic of mass shootings, it's just hard for me.
What would you prefer to do here?
So if the members who were present at this event can explain what happened, that would be.
I was there. I feel like a merchant of death. I must sell 60 guns a year, because I also donate wine tastings and cases of wine and liquor and promote alcoholism and drunk driving, I guess. This is a perfectly legal item. If you want me to promise I'll never sell another gun, I'll do that. This is a rural counties group. Firearms are not made to kill people. The gun actually got in there because I'd won a gun at a raffle. I didn't want it, traded it in for the pistol, and donated to the basket. And we are legally transferring that. He's going to have to do the 10-day waiting period at a licensed firearm dealer. He will do the background checks, the 10-day waiting period, everything that is legal to own a firearm. I mean, I did not do anything illegal, nor did I do anything that I think misrepresented Humboldt County, and it was gotten at a local firearm store, paid for by me. This isn't the first time I've had a gun in my basket.
I also just saw this, Twitter post that I think it might be worthwhile to talk about whether, we want a 9mm handgun to be one of the auction items representing our county. I think, handguns in particular are something that raises a lot of emotional questions.
If the board is not liking the items that were in the basket, let's talk about that. If you guys are wanting to have different representation on the RCRC committee, then let's really say that.
It's dramatic of myself to say that a 9mm handgun is made just for killing. It's not just for killing. People do use it for self-defense or target practice, and it does have practical purposes with relationship to that. We try so hard to secure these items so that they are not create danger to our children. Mass shootings are a thing that are happening all the time. It is part of representation of our community to other communities. And it's not one that I agree with.
When we started this out, I said, I will never take another gun. The reason it got in the basket is because I won a 7-shot bolt-action shotgun at a raffle. I did not want it, traded it in for a pistol. Don't need the pistol. It was the #1 selling item out of 34 baskets, but I was probably wrong for doing that.
I do think this is a very discussion. Person said to me that most of the rules that have been set around these baskets have occurred to Supervisor Bone's inclusion of the cannabis products, etc. So you see,
and a dog.
That I do see that CRC concern about some of these things being basket raffle. Things in the basket, it's disturbing Supervisor Bone to see the inappropriateness of that. Offensive about it, you said, well, fine, I just won't do it. Frankly, it should have been obvious even before doing it, and that concerns me. Also has concerned me shotgun or something on the office, and I don't know if you keep information there. It seems highly inappropriate House, office.
I don't really want to do this. I don't be on our CRC.
Particularly at this time.
What if I took over the raffle and we have Supervisor Bone remain as the chair for this year?
It's not really totally about the raffle. Do we go to those events? Do sometimes we drink and have fun and dance and swear? Sure, we do certain. I'm just saying we're human beings.
I think having someone who's from a more rural portion of the community on that board makes sense. I would echo those concerns about the judgment of a couple of these actions.
We didn't belong to RCRC till I came on this board. I was fortunate enough to, on my second year there, to be voted into the chairs. But I will second and have Michelle be head of CSAC and RCRC.
Is there a motion then?
I was at that auction. It was not the second rated auction item that evening. There was also a squirrel shootout at a ranch that happened that evening. So this event tends, and this tends to be very rural. And actually, I make a joke that Rex is actually quite liberal. This group of people. Maybe a couple of times he's done things that in Arcata I wouldn't do. But I think making a big mistake by not supporting him on this. Does a great job representing.
And you can, from your staff will take your staff there in your office, and regarding a firearm and then I believe a custom rifle. The question coming from RC staff was, how are we going to transfer this weapon? Like this, I believe, if I recall, and you can tell, and I can be corrected. Well, I have plenty of liability set up to me. From the RCRC staff that was done to do that. That happened. That's very discussed. Firearm may not have been transferred. They have. I'm not sure to find the result of that. If it wasn't, and it was on someone having liability, that could be involved in something.
I have a hard time. Not like this. We don't all live in the same. And I believe, in my opinion, Supervisor Bone presents a cross-section of our community. It was not an issue in my standpoint.
But really just want to express our support for the work that Supervisor Bone has done with RCRC over the last several years. To the question of the gun at RCRC, I think that's an RCRC policy consideration. If that organization, which is essentially like a trade association for rural counties, does not want firearms at their raffles, then that should be discussed at RCRC. It seems like right now what we're doing is nitpicking about a appointment. I think that Supervisor Bone, if he's willing to keep doing this job, would be great.
And I will be fully transparent here. GSN, or RCRC does have a policy suggesting no guns. I actually took it to the legal and said, I will hold on to the gun till I actually get to an FDL and transfer it to the winning bidder. So I am transferring it to the winning bidder this Monday in Jamestown, California. So I still have possession of that legally purchased licensed firearm, which cannot be transferred to this individual unless he has a safety lock for the trigger and a gun safe at his residence where the gun will be. Both of those are requirements for firearms. So it's, you're right. Guns do cause a lot of problems. Cars cause a lot of problems. Alcohol causes a lot of problems. And I wish we could ban them all and fix it all, and then we could all, be fine.
It has moved and seconded. I was going to put out there, I do actually really appreciate the work. I appreciate the reminder of the work, the hard work that Supervisor Bone has done with relationship to RCRC's taking on the broadband issue in the advocacy in the way that they have, not just relationship to Humboldt County, but to rural communities around California. I think that is extremely important and not to be missed. I feel like I've been heard. I feel like you've been. I feel like I'm hoping that there's an understanding about these issues moving forward. I'm actually willing to go back to Supervisor Bone as our delegate, knowing that that the behaviors and the representation matters, and that should take that into consideration moving forward, that the diversity of this community should not be discounted. This is not the only time we've had these sort of issues around representation and behaviors of Supervisor Bone with relationship to the presentation.
So I just wanted to clarify the motion. I thought that the motion that actually got put forth was to have Michelle take over with the auction basket. And I heard some discussion about a possible motion of switching roles from alternate to member, et cetera. So can we get clarification of the motion that's on the table, please?
Mike made the motion that I become the seat and Rex become the alternate.
I did make that motion.
It was seconded by Rex.
I think I'm hearing Mike as the motion maker potentially withdrawing his motion.
I think it's been a really good discussion. I'm hoping everybody has taken the comments to heart, understanding that our role, while we are very fragile human beings, is to represent the whole community as best as we can.
I'm fine with returning to that appointment if you'd be willing to serve.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Clarification from council, do we need to take a vote on this and then come back to another motion if it fails?
No, I've rescinded my motion, and I think the original motion still stands, and I'll second the original motion.
My motion was to appoint Supervisor Bone with myself as alternate, and it sounds like Wilson seconds that.
And I will.
Can I do the basket?
Yeah, you can do the basket. Trust me, I don't want to do the basket anymore. And I'm not bringing a gun, obviously. And I believe to the chagrin of somebody, the firing pin is out of the shotgun in my office. So just so you know, it's a decoration. It's not a gun. With that being said, I do want to know, we do serve on a lot of boards. In 11 years, this is the first time it's ever come up to question, so I've never questioned anything with the Coastal Commission. I'm fully aware that I have to bring everything back to Humboldt County.
Okay, we ready for a roll call? Thank you. Supervisor?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yep.
Supervisor Bone?
I can throw it for, yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion carries.
And yeah, that is pretty much it here. So. Yeah, so we're gonna call that good for this episode here, and we will be back next week. But yeah, and I think that gives people something to chew on as far as the gun culture, and think it over, look at different things. I mean, how does it end up? How did it end up in China when they took all their guns away? How did it end up anywhere when they took all their guns away? Is that really something we want to see here? I mean, what does it fix? I mean, some people still have guns, and what do they say about power? It's, power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if only some people have guns, I'd call that absolute power, But yeah, and then if it does corrupt them absolutely, what does that mean for the people that don't have the guns anymore? But yeah, probably nothing good. But anyways, we will see you next week here, folks.